71 to cross from routine to disaster. In that brief moment, a normal flight became a catastrophe. The world outside tilted, the engines roared, and time was measured in heartbeats. Imagine, a modern airliner gliding through the night, passengers lost in thought, trusting the pilots and the machine. But in aviation, trust alone isn't always enough. One hidden error can trigger an unstoppable chain of events. This is the story of those final seconds, a journey into the heart of a disaster. We'll explore the cockpit, the confusion, and the fear that gripped the cabin. Using official reports and human factors, we'll piece together what happened. This isn't just a crash story, it's about human error, technology's limits, and lessons written in the sky. Understanding this event honors those lost by learning from their final moments. Every second, every action holds a clue. By examining these 32 seconds, we grasp the immense responsibility of flight. Every rule, checklist, and warning is written in the memory of flights like this. The sky is vast, but not without danger. This is what happens when those dangers become real. In the next scenes, we'll see how calm can turn to chaos in an instant. We'll witness the split-second decisions that define life and death. And we'll discover how tragedy can lead to safer skies for all. The story begins with a routine approach, 32 seconds from eternity. Let's step inside Flight 171. Before chaos, there was calm. Air India Flight 171 was on final approach to Mumbai, city lights twinkling below. In the cockpit, the captain and first officer performed routine landing checks. Confident, focused, everything normal. Instruments showed green lights, steady numbers. The weather was clear, the runway in sight. For the crew, it was just another landing. In the cabin, passengers relaxed, seatbelts fastened, some gazing at the city, others lost in thought. Flight attendants completed their checks ready for arrival. This sense of routine is a pillar of aviation safety, but it can also mask subtle dangers. There was no warning, no turbulence, no engine failure. The threat was silent, hidden deep within the aircraft's systems. No one on board sensed the invisible error about to unfold. The contrast between this peaceful moment and what followed is a stark reminder. In aviation, everything can change in seconds. The calm before the storm is often the most deceptive. In the next moments, the routine would shatter. The crew and passengers were about to face the unimaginable. The unseen storm was already brewing. Safety in the sky depends on vigilance, not just routine. For Flight 171, the illusion of safety was about to break. The story of those final seconds was about to begin, and no one on board saw it coming. 32 seconds before impact, the first sign of trouble appeared, a subtle mode change on the captain's display. The autopilot quietly disengaged from vertical guidance, leaving the descent uncontrolled. In the busy cockpit, this small notification was easy to miss. The aircraft began a slow, unnoticed drop below the glide path. The change was slight, just a few feet per second. Human brains aren't wired to catch such gradual shifts, especially during high workload. The pilots trusted the automation, unaware it was no longer guiding them safely. This is automation surprise. The system changes, but the crew doesn't realize it. The ground proximity warning system stayed silent, not recognizing the danger. The aircraft was flying itself toward the sea, and the crew didn't know. Seconds ticked by, 25 to impact. The deviation grew, but the warning was missed. The pilots believed they were in control, but the reality was slipping away. The gap between expectation and reality widened with every second. The critical moment had passed unnoticed. The stage was set for disaster. 15 seconds to impact. The first officer noticed something was wrong. The altimeter was dropping too fast. "We're too low!" he called out. The captain, jolted to attention, saw the truth. They were far below the glide path. Instantly, training took over. The captain grabbed the controls, disengaged the autopilot, and pulled back hard. Thrust levers slammed forward. Engines roared to life. This was the go-around, the last chance to escape disaster. But the aircraft was heavy, configured for landing, slow to respond. Engines needed precious seconds to spool up, seconds they didn't have. The nose pitched up sharply. G-forces pressed the crew into their seats. Alarms blared. The water rushed closer. The first officer called out altitudes, a frantic countdown. 100, 50, 40! They fought for control, for their lives, for everyone on board. They did everything right, manual control, maximum power. But it was too late. The error had gone unnoticed for too long. The chain of events was unstoppable. In those final seconds, skill and training met the limits of time and altitude. The cockpit was a blur of desperate action. The outcome was already sealed. 32 seconds earlier, a silent warning had set this tragedy in motion. Now, there was nothing left but the final desperate struggle. The impact was inevitable. For passengers, the final seconds were chaos. The engines roared, the nose pitched up, and loose items flew. Darkness fell as the plane systems failed. Screams, tearing metal, and shattering glass filled the cabin. Flight attendants shouted commands, but their voices were lost in the noise. Training and instinct took over, but no one could control what was happening. In an instant, anticipation turned to terror. There was no time to understand, only the instinct to survive. The nightmare was total and over in seconds. The go-around came too late. The left wingtip struck the Arabian Sea, water as hard as concrete. The wing tore away, the plane rolled violently, and control was lost. The fuselage broke apart, the impact forces overwhelming. For most on board, the end was instantaneous. The wreckage sank quickly, taking the story with it. Rescue teams found only debris and silence. The search for survivors was in vain. Investigators recovered the black boxes, flight data, and cockpit voice recorders. These held the key to understanding the tragedy. They revealed the missed warning, the frantic final moments, and the fatal impact. From this data, the entire chain of events was reconstructed. The story of Flight 171's last 32 seconds was finally told. The tragedy of Flight 171 led to lasting change. Investigators focused on the silent autopilot mode change. New rules required clearer, more urgent alerts for automation changes. Crew resource management training was overhauled. Pilots now question automation, cross-check instruments, and communicate constantly. Enhanced ground proximity warning systems were developed, using GPS to warn of danger much earlier. Every flight today is safer because of lessons learned from disasters like this. The final 32 seconds of Flight 171 echo in every cockpit. Safety is a journey, not a destination. The sky remembers, and so must we. Subscribe to Subaid for more powerful insights.